Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, and our next guest, our ace reporter, needs no introduction. Marc Z here with another Marc Z Moment. Welcome, Marc.
Thanks, John. It's great to be on the show, and I hope all is going well in the business world for you. But great to be on the show, and thanks for having me.
Always great to have you on. You like to talk about timely and topical things going on in the world of recruitment and employees. And what are you bringing to us today?
Well, what's being talked about now is, as you know, in running a business, is the performance review. This is the time of year that companies and firms are sitting down with people to discuss their performance and their evaluations that were done at the end of the year, and now their review that's the year going forward.
Funny you mention it, but they're clearly the bane of everybody's existence, because I think people in general don't like to get them, and it's only probably surpassed by the people that don't like to produce them. But a necessary evil in the world of business and the world in general of providing feedback. So an important element.
Right, it's a balance. I mean, on one hand, you want to give feedback because it's a important time for the company or the organization or the firm to really let the person know what other people are thinking, not just them. Because in a lot of the bigger companies, it's feedback that they've gotten from a formal process, and it's feedback they've gotten from multiple parties that have dealt with the employee. And the employee is wanted to know a lot of times, how is she or he doing in the role? And a lot of times, this is the time that they can hear feedback, talk about what they've done, get recommendations, and understand the direction of the work of their performance and the direction of where the firm, company, organization wants them to go.
All really great points, and I think as I like to guide and advise, it's really about providing continual feedback, but we're talking about the formal review process that may happen from a lot of companies, as you say, at this time of year. So what are you seeing? What are you offering? Where does it come into play in terms of what you do, and in the recruiting cycle and bringing people on board? I can't help but think that a lot of people might be out in the marketplace after they get formal feedback. And so that creates a cycle in and of itself.
Well, what it does is it gives people a chance to really think about, do I want to stay with this firm or organization? Has the feedback been helpful to me? Is it going to add to my frustration? Or does it say maybe I should be looking at something new, and this is not where I should be? And so we're talking to people that have gotten the feedback, and they're not pleased because they had put in the effort. They had worked along the lines of what the expectations, and they surpassed them. And obviously, their hard work and their determination and everything else they had put into the role is not being appreciated. At the same time, we're working with people that it's just not the right fit for them. The firm has told them that although you're talented, you're not going to be, for example, if it's a law firm, you're not going to be on the partnership track. We don't have a role for you off track that could be the right job for you. So instead, it may be a great opportunity now for you to look at other opportunities. And we'll give you a certain period of time to find a position and that might be better for you. And at this point, some people are thinking about maybe I want to have, if it's the law, I want a different area of law, or I want a smaller firm, bigger firm. I want to use my legal background a different way. If it's a corporation, maybe this type of corporation is not the right place for me. Maybe a smaller business, maybe a business where I could add my skill set or experience in a different way, or maybe look at a position internally in the company organization that might be a better fit.
So really interesting that you bring that up. I think a lot of people look at the context of negative feedback in some way as opposed to constructive feedback. And maybe it's two sides of the same coin, or it's hard to distinguish one from the other. But I think that what the feedback should do, if it's constructive in a way, is open your eyes to something that you may have blinders to. And perhaps that difficult conversation where you get that feedback, creates that aha moment for the employee to say, well, maybe I would like it in a smaller company, or maybe, this is not the environment that I thought it would be, and I would be better off elsewhere. Are you finding, and not to open up an entire different subject or go too far afoot, but it's creating challenges with a more, let's call it, transient workforce, where people hear anything that isn't consistent with what they want to hear, and boom, they're out of there. And so employers that are more traditional have to sort of massage how they're providing feedback for fear of people not accepting anything and learning and growing from it, rather saying, you know what, I don't need to stick around.
Well, I think feedback is important. I can tell you a lot of people, it's very frustrating when they're not receiving feedback because the people they support are just so busy, they're not giving feedback. The frustration is when they're giving feedback and the feedback is not consistent with the performance. That's what frustrates candidates, because candidates want the feedback because they want to do better in their job. But if the feedback is not consistent with the performance, that's the frustration. And that's when people should look to say, employees, I disagree with this review, and here's what I think my performance has been, and I'd like to talk about it and understand why the feedback is like this. So
I,
on one hand, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
I was just going to interject and say, it really should be a two-way street, right? It should be about
Right,
dialogue as opposed to, strictly one-way feedback.
right. I mean, I think it should be a strategy. How can we do better by you going forward and give you the tools, give you the mentorship, and give you what you need to be successful? And with some people, it's like, stay out of my lane. I proved it. I've been on top of the mountain. I continue to be on top of the mountain with my numbers and what I've been successful at. Please stay out of my lane. Please don't have other people in my lane. Other
Mm.
people, other people need the mentorship. They need the help to be successful. And so it should be a collaborative review where you're working together to say, how can we help each other for you to be more successful and happy here, and then be able to do better for us. So that's where it should be, more of a collaborative review process where both parties, the employer or employee representative, giving that feedback, and the employee being able to give their 2 cents. So it's going to lead to hopefully a more productive employee, but also a happier employee who will thrive at the place of the company. But
No, absolutely. And I was going to say, the two-way street promotes, collaboration, interaction, clarification in a lot of cases, et cetera. I think that performance reviews should really be about opening up dialogue and identifying, especially for people early in their career, some of the gaps in the skill sets that they want to develop, and in return, what the firm or organization can do to support that development and growth.
right, that's the goal. And at the same time, if from that conversation, it's not the right fit for the employee is getting feedback that is unwarranted, or getting feedback that says, you know what, this job isn't for me. For example, we talked to somebody the other day who got feedback and said, you know what, I really want to use my legal background, but I want to do something different in the law. So it's all different types of situations that the review will help. For the employer and the employee, the goal is, though, to have a collaborative conversation and then obviously everybody then will be able to digest the results of that conversation afterwards.
Yeah, and you know, I think what it underscores for me, and what point that I want to make is there's no one size fits all anymore. You know, everything is unique. Just because somebody doesn't want to stay in that track that they're on doesn't necessarily dictate or not necessarily dictate, but there's no right or wrong, right?
Right,
People are free to do as they choose, and I think we've opened ourselves to a society that is more non-traditional than traditional in a lot of ways.
right,
You know, makes your job and my job maybe a little more difficult when you know clients are talking about prospective candidates, and you go, well, I don't, you know, it's hard to follow the zigzag here and why they make a good candidate, but sometimes it brings a breath of fresh air to an environment or an organization.
right. And you know what? A lot of employees, and we've both been there, they don't know there's an issue until they have feedback there is an issue. They don't
Yeah.
know they should be going down a certain lane for the organization, the company, or the firm until they're told that or encouraged to do that. I mean,
Well,
certain things are common, but so it's up to the employer to help the employee be more successful. And by doing that, the employee can be responsive. It gives her or him a chance to really then use that as impetus to going down certain lanes and performance areas that they didn't know they needed to go before. So communication, as you say, is a two-way street.
Absolutely. As always, Mark, wonderful information, guiding insight, etc. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, first of all, John, Google our wonderful radio entrepreneurs go on our wonderful radio entrepreneurs website. We're right there. Google Marc Z, M-A-R-C, and the letter Z. Go to our website, marczlegal.com, marczlegal.com, and 617-338-1300.
Wonderful. This has been a Marc Z moment, and we'll be right back with another guest on Radio Entrepreneurs.